Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard 101 video. Today, I decided to make another video on Lemuria because it's coming out very soon, obviously, and I figured that I would make one. I saw a pretty good idea, at least I think, that I wanted to talk about and give my spin on. And that is specifically a video made by Formal Phantom like a week ago now, and it was the Lemuria Controversy. I'll explain it more in detail, but make sure to go check out that video first, because, you know, that's where I got the idea from. Basically, the Lemuria Controversy, as Phantom put it, is the fact that in the trailer for Lemuria, there were a lot of zones that people noticed were reused assets from previous worlds. And a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people were like, reusing assets, that's lazy. That's weak. Why can't they make new assets? And I saw all those comments and they made me a little bit I don't know if angry is the right word, but a little bit perturbed, because I think a lot of people are missing something here. And it's possible the Phantom didn't mention this in the video, but I would like to mention it today and talk about it today, is the reason why they did that, and also why I don't even think it's really lazy to reuse assets. So let's first go over why I don't think it's lazy at all to reuse assets. Reusing assets is completely fine in video games, at least in my eyes, because video games are hard to design. They take a very, very long time, and it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that King's Isle would want to take some of their previous assets so they don't need to focus as much on that in this update. One thing we're getting from this is we're getting a ton of new spells in this new update. We're getting the new Rochambeau spells, we're getting reworked Scion spells, we're getting new different spells, old one spells. We're getting so many new spells, it doesn't surprise me at all that they focused a significant amount of time on that, and they didn't want to reuse as many assets in the past. One game that I think, or a few games that I can say that are like this, is the Elder Scrolls games. If you've ever played those, they reuse a lot of assets when it comes to dungeons. A lot of dungeons have the same kind of look to them, but the reason why that's not as bad is because there's different enemies in them, there's different fights, and it's still new and fresh, despite the fact that it's still the same reused assets. I personally don't think it's inherently wrong to reuse those. Now, some people in that said, okay, yeah, reusing assets, but they're reusing literally the exact same areas, which gets me into my second point that I wanted to go into, that I wanted to talk about. If you look here, the Atmoplex, let's be honest, they're always here for us. They're, they gather information, and so I want to turn your attention to the lore section real quick. I want you to look at the third point. Lemuria was created by the Old One using the world synthesizer that harvests world and combines fragments into a new whole first world. This machine produces Lemuria's life force and mana. In quotes, the lemurs were only the beginning. In the wake of their disappearance, I now see noise, a trail of discordant notes. A grim, subtle song that distorts the rhythm of existence, warps reality to obscure the greatest of crimes, whole pieces of the spiral, stolen. Okay, now, I don't know if any of you have half a brain, alright? I'm going to treat you like you don't have half a brain for a second. I'm sorry if this is true, but just reading that sentence, there may or may not be a reason why Lemuria has some assets from previous worlds. Now, stop for a second. I don't know if that's sunken in yet. There may or may not be a reason that Lemuria has assets from previous worlds. The Old One, called the World Render at the time, had the help of Stallion Quartermain to steal the piece of the spiral, yada yada yada. Basically, Lemuria is a hodgepodge of different things. It is no surprise to me that in the trailer, we see assets reused from different worlds if Lemuria is, which by the way, we've known this for months. We've known that Lemuria is a combination of different worlds for months. Like, this was a thing that was in the prequest explicitly stated. It is no surprise to me that it has assets reused from the world. And I think a lot of people missed this. Either they didn't do the Lemuria prequest or whatever, and they missed it. But this brings me into a point that I like to make, and probably my final point of the video, is that people judge things way too harshly. The world hasn't even come out yet. The world isn't being released for another week, and when that trailer was released, it wasn't being released for another 3 weeks. People take these trailers way too seriously. They see that as the end-all be-all. There's still a whole story that you haven't seen. Enemies that you haven't seen. There was no enemies in the trailer. There's still spells that you haven't seen because not all the spells were in the trailer. You've seen maybe 2% of that world, but you take the time and already write it off saying that King's Isle devs are lazy and they're reusing assets, despite the fact that you don't have all the pieces. And it bothers me so much when I see this online, and I see it online constantly, is people just judging these things without knowing literally anything about it. You can't say the devs are lazy. They spent time and effort actually making these assets and putting them into the world. It's not like everything is reused. You can literally see with your eyes, hopefully, unless you're blind. I mean, maybe you're blind. I don't know how you're writing a YouTube comment then, but you may notice that, like, there's new areas, like the futuristic area, which has really in-depth graphics, in my opinion. They look really cool. There's little hidden Easter eggs everywhere throughout it, and those aren't reused assets. I mean, technically, you could say that they're reused from Hero 101, but at that point, you're just grasping at straws, to be honest. Really, that was the main thing I wanted to go over today, was the Lemuria controversy, in quotes, and why I don't think it's a problem that Lemuria is reusing assets. Now, I would like to know your opinion in the comments. Do you still hate this? I don't hate it. I think that it's completely fair, and it's an interesting idea. It's not like we haven't seen this before, right? Like we saw in The Husk, I believe, where they reused assets from Marleybone, they reused assets from Wizard City, but I don't think anyone complained then. I don't know. I guess it's just because it's a new world and people like finding things to complain about. Probably. I mean, who knows? That's what tends to happen. But again, let me know your opinion in the comments below, because I am really interested in it. But that's it for today. If you enjoyed, drop a like, hit the sub button. Make sure to go support me financially on Patreon if you wish, and go join me on my Discord server. We're about to reach 300 members. We're having a good time. So that's it. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.